Hi guys, this is Merc and today we are looking at 10 lost inventions. This video was suggested by Jacob Canty. Thank you so much for this suggestion. I hope you will enjoy this video. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Flexible glass. Humans have been using natural formed glass like obsidian since the Stone Age. The earliest known glass objects were dated back to the 3rd millennium BC. A Roman legend says that there was once such a thing as flexible glass. The flexible glass was a legendary lost invention from during the reign of Roman Emperor Tiberius Caesar between 14 CE and 37 CE. As recounted by Isidore Seville, the craftsman who invented the technique brought before Caesar a drinking bowl made of flexible glass, and Caesar threw it on the floor, whereupon the material dented rather than shattering. The inventor was simply able to repair the dent with a small hammer. After the inventor swore to the emperor that he alone knew the technique of manufacture, Caesar had the man beheaded, fearing such a material could undermine the value of gold and silver. Number 2. Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism is an incredibly intricate analog computer found in a shipwreck near Greece in the year 1900. The mechanism consists of a series of over 30 gears, cranks and dials that could be manipulated in order to chart the astronomical positions of the Sun, Moon and other planets. The device itself is already impressive, but the unbelievable part of the mechanism is that it was created 100 years before the birth of Christ, and more than 1000 years before anything even approaching its level of technological complexity and workmanship would be discovered again. The device also came long before our modern understanding of astronomy and physics. The Antikythera mechanism was built over 1600 years before Galileo was born and over 1700 years before Isaac Newton was born. Now, the rational explanation is that the device used working theories on the movements of celestial bodies established at the time and some remarkably brilliant craftsmanship. The sophistication and precision evident in the design of mechanism suggests that it was not the only device of its kind, and many scientists have speculated that its use might have been widespread. Still, the existence of other devices like Antikythera mechanism doesn't appear on the historical records until the 14th century, and for all the explanations we can offer, the Antikythera mechanism raises even more questions. Number 3. OLESTRA the Wonder Fat. You know, there's no great secret to staying in shape. You just have to eat healthily and exercise a lot. This, however, is no way to live. Hence, the slew of supposed cheats, wonder potions and diet foods that are designed to make you feel better about yourself as you shovel Doritos into your mouth. OLESTRA was one of these. It was a fat substitute that added no fat, calories or cholesterol, but could be used in the places of most fats. It was discovered by accident in 1968 and seemed to be the answer of all our prayers. Finally, we can pour oil straight down our throats and not gain a pound. This could well have had a major role in solving the obesity crisis. That is, until people started to read the label. Unfortunately, as a precaution, the FDA listed one of its side effects with 2 words you never want to be associated with food: anal leakage. Basically, when consumed in large quantities, OLESTRA can cause abdominal cramps, loose stools, and anal leakage. Despite the fact that no consumer had actually experienced these side effects, people weren't willing to take the risk, and sales plummeted. The FDA eventually removed the warning and tried to reassure everyone that unless they were practically drinking the stuff, it wouldn't happen to them. But it was too little too late. OLESTRA fell by the wayside, and we all went back to pouring chip fat directly into our stomach. Number 4. The Vapor Carburetor. Thomas Ogle's vapor carburetor has been the subject of much speculation and controversy since it was developed in the 1970s. According to some reports, Ogle managed to develop a new type of carburetor that would allow an ordinary car to run on over 100 miles to a gallon. It apparently worked by pressurizing petrol into a vapor and injecting it into the firing chambers with drastically improved efficiency. The fuel system was patented and widely reported at the time. So why aren't we all driving into super efficient vapor powered cars now? Well, for a start, Ogle died in 1981 and took the design with him. The autopsy reports that he died of an overdose, but there are some who believe he was poisoned. Whatever the cause, his invention died too. There are those who believe the vapor carburetor was a hoax, an illusion created using hidden fuel tanks. This is largely due to the fact that no one seems to have been able to reproduce the effect on a large scale since then. However, many contemporaries of Ogle were pretty convinced of the engine's authenticity, some of them empathetically stating that it is not a hoax. Who knows, perhaps it was a hoax, or perhaps the answer to the current fuel crisis was lost forever. Number 5. Roman cement. Modern concrete was developed in the 1700s, and today the simple mixture of cement, water, sand and rocks is the most widely used building material in the world. But the recipe developed in the 18th century wasn't the first time concrete was invented. In fact, concrete was widely used throughout antiquity by the Persians, Egyptians, Assyrians and Romans. The Romans in particular made extensive use of concrete, and they were responsible for first perfecting the recipe by mixing burnt lime with crushed rocks and water. Their mastery of its use allowed them to build many of their famous structures, among them the Pantheon, the Colosseum, the aqueducts and the Roman baths. Like so many technologies in the Greeks and Romans, the recipe for concrete was lost during the descent into the Dark Ages. The most popular theory is that the recipe was something of a trade secret among stone masons, and that the method for making cement and concrete died along with those who knew it. Perhaps even more interesting than the disappearance of Roman cement are the particular qualities that separate it from more modern Portland cement, which is the most common type of cement used today. Structures built with the Roman cement, like the Colosseum, have managed to weather thousands of years of punishment and remain standing. But buildings constructed with Portland cement have been known to wear down much faster. This has been theorized to be the result of different chemicals that the Romans added to their cement, among them milk and even blood. These were said to create air bubbles within the concrete that helped the material to expand and contract in the heat and cold without damaging itself. Number 6. Water-powered vehicles. Despite how silly it sounds, water-fueled vehicles do exist. The most famous is Stan Meyer's Dune buggy, which achieved 100 miles per gallon and might have become a more commonplace had Meyer not succumbed to a suspicious brain aneurysm at 57. Meyer claimed that an automobile retrofitted with the device could use water as a fuel instead of gasoline, by splitting water into component elements hydrogen and oxygen, where the hydrogen was then burned to generate energy. Stanley Meyer produced 9 patents relating to his water-powered car. He was subsequently sued by 2 investors, and the court found Meyer guilty of gross and egregious fraud, ordering him to repay the investors their $25,000. Meyer's supporters continue to claim that he was assassinated by big oil companies and the US government in order to suppress his invention. Number 7. A safer cigarette. In the 1960s, the Liggett & Myers Tobacco Company created a product called the XA, a cigarette in which most of the stick's carcinogens had been eliminated. Despite the company's initial support, executives withdrew their backing for the project, and the Palladium cigarette never got to the production stage. The main reason for this was simple. The company's lawyers had advised that launching a safer product would lead to endless lawsuits from the public for dangers of tobacco use. Dr. James Mould, Liggett's research director, reported in court documents that Philip Morris threatened to clobber Liggett if they did not adhere to an industry agreement never to reveal the information about the negative health effects of smoking. The lawsuit was dismissed on a technicality, and Philip Morris never addressed the accusations. Despite their own scientists' publications of research that showed less cancer in mice exposed to smoke from the XA, Liggett & Myers issued a press release denying evidence of cancer in humans as a result of tobacco use, and the XA never saw the light of day. Number 8. Slew Digital Coding System. In the late 1990s, a Dutch guy named Jan Sleut announced that he had developed a digital coding system that would allow you to store large files in tiny amounts of digital space. He claimed that his revolutionary code could pack an entire movie down to a file size of just 8 kilobytes. Despite the seemingly impossible nature of the invention, Sloot was supposedly able to demonstrate it to an astonished panel of Philips executives by playing 16 movies simultaneously from a 64 kilobyte chip. It was big, people were excited, and the invention garnered the interest of lots of investors. However, Sloot died just one day before he was due to hand over the source code. The investors were all ready to carry on with the technology after Sloot's death, but a vital piece of the puzzle, a compiler stored on a floppy disk, was lost, never to be recovered. There has been much speculation as to how the code worked. It is generally considered to be physically impossible for it to work using conventional file compression. One alternative solution is that it works not by storing whole files but discrete snippets of information that can be dragged out and reordered by a series of commands. So to play a film, every possible combination of RGB is stored on a possible device, say a special motherboard in your laptop. You download the key to that movie that pulls up specific combinations of RGB for each frame. Put these all together and you get your film, composed of elements already stored on your computer. Number 9. Wireless power transmission. Until quite recently, when for some reason the internet got a collective Nikola Tesla boner, he had managed to fly somewhat under the historical radar. Frankly, the sheer amount of Tesla's genius inventions that never came to pass probably deserves its own video. But there was one in particular that could have literally changed the world as we know it. Tesla was obsessed with creating a way to transmit electricity wirelessly. He devised what is now known as the Tesla coil, which generated high AC voltages. These were indeed able to transmit electricity wirelessly over a short distance, and Tesla was convinced that he could make it work over a much larger area. In Tesla's future, electricity would rain down from the atmosphere and charge everything in your home. He began work on the Wardenclyffe Tower, also known as the Tesla Tower, that was going to distribute wireless electricity through the ionosphere and realize Tesla's utopia. However, investors started to drop out. One of the problems was that he had not actually been able to demonstrate his theories on a grand scale. The real kicker, however, is that Tesla's wireless energy would be very difficult to monitor, track and control, making it difficult for the energy companies to make any money out of it. It was great for the customers, but for some reason a zero return investment didn't seem all that great to the people with the money. Number 10. Starlight. An amateur chemist by the name of Maurice Ward was able to create a heat-resistant plastic that was virtually indestructible. Starlight was a wonder material that was claimed to be able to withstand and insulate against immense temperatures. In tests, it was shown to be able to withstand blasts from a laser running at around 10,000 degrees Celsius, more than enough to melt a diamond. It was also shown to be able to insulate a raw egg from a 5-minute attack from a blowtorch, leaving it raw and even cool to touch. It's thought that it could survive a force of 75 times the strength of Hiroshima nuclear blast. However, Ward never revealed the true composition of Starlight. It is thought that it was made up of number of organic polymers and a small number of inorganic additives. But Ward was extremely paranoid about somebody stealing his invention, so even attempting to reverse engineer existing samples has not been permitted. Despite interest by everyone from NASA to MOD, Ward insisted on retaining 51% ownership of the formula to protect his interests. Unfortunately, this pulled off investors so much that they picked up their balls and left. The secret of Starlight died with him, and there's no record of how it was made.